The night was cold, the streets almost empty, and the city lights flickered like tired stars. A young man named Daniel walked home alone, his hands deep in his pockets. His life was simple, quiet, and without much meaning. But tonight everything was about to change. As Daniel passed under a broken street lamp, he noticed something strange near the alley. At first he thought it was just trash, maybe an old blanket left behind, but then it moved, a soft sound, weak and painful, reached his ears. It was not the cry of a human, it was something different. Daniel stepped closer, his heart beat faster. His mind screamed at him to turn back, but his feet refused to stop. In the shadows, lying on the cold ground, was a figure unlike anything he had seen before. Her skin was pale but glowing faintly, her eyes half closed, her clothes torn, dirty, and soaked with blood. She was not human, she was alien. For a moment Daniel froze, his breath caught in his throat. The world around him felt silent, as if holding its breath too. He thought of running, calling the police, or pretending he saw nothing. But when her body shook, when she whispered with broken lips, his heart made the choice for him. "Help, please," she said in a weak voice. The sound was broken, but the meaning was clear. Daniel bent down quickly, his hands trembled. He had never been this close to anything, not from Earth. But she looked so fragile, so close to death. Her body was thin, and every breath she took seemed painful. He could see fear in her eyes, the same fear he himself felt. He pulled off his jacket and covered her. She flinched at his touch but did not push him away. Daniel looked around, afraid someone might see. The city was not safe for strangers, and for an alien like her it was death, he thought fast. He could not take her to the hospital. She would be captured, experimented on, maybe killed. He could not leave her here either. She would not survive the night. There was only one thing he could do, Daniel whispered. "Hold on. I'll help you," he half-carried, half-dragged her out of the alley. His legs shook from her weight. Though she was lighter than a human, her skin felt cold like ice. But her faint glow kept his courage alive. Every step felt like danger, but he kept moving. Soon he reached a small shop still open. He looked at her and realized she needed clothes. Her torn garments made her stand out too much, and her strange glow was a risk. Without thinking, he stepped inside and bought simple clothes, a hoodie and long pants, something to hide her from curious eyes. When he returned, she was still breathing. Though weaker now, he dressed her quickly, his hands gentle, trying not to hurt her more. When the hoodie covered her face and the pants hid her glowing skin, she almost looked human, almost safe. Daniel spoke softly. "You'll be all right. Just hold on." But she shook her head weakly, her lips parted, and with the last of her strength she whispered something that made his blood run cold. "They are coming." Her eyes closed, her body went limp in his arms. Daniel's heart raced. Who was coming? What did she mean? He looked at the dark sky, then at the empty streets. Suddenly every shadow seemed dangerous, every sound a threat. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt he was standing on the edge of something far greater than himself. He was holding a dying alien in his arms, hiding her from enemies he could not even see, and deep inside he knew this night was only the beginning. Daniel's apartment was small, a single room with cracked walls and an old couch. But tonight it felt like the most dangerous place in the city. He laid the alien girl on the couch, her breathing shallow, her body weak. The hoodie and pants covered her glow, but he could still see a faint light under the fabric. Like a star fighting not to die, he paced the room, running his hands through his hair. His mind shouted questions he could not answer. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why was she hunted? And what did she mean when she whispered, "They are coming"? He poured water into a glass and tried to help her drink. At first she did not respond, but then her eyes opened slightly. They were large and bright, filled with pain and fear, but also with a strange softness. She sipped slowly, her thin hands trembling as she held the glass. You helped me," she whispered. Her voice was broken but clear enough. Daniel nodded. "Yeah, I couldn't leave you there." For a moment silence filled the room, only the hum of the fridge and her fragile breathing. Then she spoke again. "They hunt me. I escaped, but they will find me. They always find me." Daniel swallowed hard. "Who hunts you?" She shook her head, tears forming in her glowing eyes. "Humans, soldiers, and others. I cannot stay." Her words were heavy, like she carried a story too painful to tell. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He had always lived an ordinary life, working small jobs, paying rent, nothing special. But now he was standing in front of a truth bigger than his world. If he helped her, he would be risking everything. If he abandoned her, he could walk away safe. Pretend tonight never happened. The choice was heavy, but when he looked at her again, lying weak and broken, he knew deep inside he could not let her die. He said softly, "Then we'll hide you." Somehow her eyes widened in shock. "You would risk your life. For me?" Daniel tried to smile, though his hands shook. "Maybe I'm crazy, but yes, I will." Just then a sudden sound cut through the air. A sharp knock at the door. Daniel froze, his heart hammered in his chest. He glanced at the alien girl, her eyes wide with terror. She mouthed silently, "They..." The knock came again, louder this time. Then a voice, cold and firm. "Open the door, City Patrol. Routine check." Daniel's blood turned cold. He looked around the room quickly. There was nowhere to hide her. The apartment was too small. Every shadow seemed too shallow. The girl whispered, "If they see me, they will kill me." Daniel's mind raced. He grabbed a blanket and covered her completely, then pushed the couch against the wall. Hoping to hide her shape, he whispered, "Stay quiet." No matter what, the knock turned into pounding. "Open now, or we break it down." Daniel forced himself to breathe. He opened the door. 2 soldiers stood outside, armored, helmets glowing faintly with scanners. Their eyes scanned him up and down. One of them pushed inside without asking. Daniel's voice trembled. Is something wrong?" The soldier answered coldly, "Routine scan. Reports of unusual activity in this district." His scanner beeped softly as he moved it around the room. Daniel's stomach twisted. The scanner passed near the couch. His hands clenched into fists. The alien under the blanket trembled, her faint glow pulsing through the fabric. Daniel coughed loudly, stepping closer to block their view. "Look, I live alone, nothing unusual here." The soldier narrowed his eyes. The scanner gave another sharp beep. His hand moved to his weapon. Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. He knew if they pulled that blanket, she would be exposed, she would die, and maybe he would too. At that moment, something inside him hardened. Fear turned into defiance. He raised his voice, pretending to be annoyed. "Do you really think I'm hiding something in this tiny dump? Search if you want, but you're wasting your time." The soldier stared at him, then at the couch. His partner shook his head. "Negative. Maybe just interference." They exchanged a look, then finally turned toward the door. "Stay inside, citizen, and report anything unusual." The door closed behind them. Daniel locked it quickly. His whole body shook as he leaned against the wall. The alien girl pushed the blanket off, gasping softly. Her eyes met his, filled with both fear and wonder. "You lied. For me," she whispered. Daniel gave a weak smile. "Guess that makes us partners now." For the first time, she smiled too, a small, fragile smile. "My name is Lyra," Daniel whispered back. "I'm Daniel." Outside, the sound of engines roared. Soldiers were still searching the city, but inside this small apartment, a choice had been made. Daniel had chosen not to walk away. He had chosen to risk everything for a dying stranger. And deep inside, he knew this choice would change his life forever. The night outside Daniel's apartment grew restless. Engines rumbled in the distance, red lights cut through the sky, and patrol drones circled the streets. Daniel sat by the window, watching with fear. Lyra lay on the couch, still weak, her glow hidden under the hoodie he had bought. Every sound felt dangerous, every knock, every shadow. Even the hum of the fridge made Daniel's chest tighten. He knew the soldiers would return. They had not believed him completely. He could see it in their eyes. They would come back. Maybe with more scanners, maybe next time, he would not be able to hide her. Lyra's voice was soft but sharp. "They will find me, Daniel. If I stay here, you will die with me." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not letting them take you." Her eyes searched his, glowing faintly like stars through mist. "Why? Why risk so much for me?" Daniel did not know how to answer. Maybe because he had always felt invisible in his own world. Maybe because for the first time someone truly needed him, he whispered. "Because you deserve to live." Before she could reply, a sharp sound broke the silence, a mechanical buzz outside the window. Daniel's heart froze. A drone hovered near the building, its red eye scanning the walls. It moved closer, its lens focusing on the window. Daniel cursed under his breath. He grabbed Lyra's arm gently. "We have to go now," she tried to stand. Her legs trembling, Daniel wrapped her arm around his shoulder and pulled her up. Together they moved to the back door. His small apartment suddenly felt like a trap. Every corner was a prison, every creak of the floor a betrayal. The drone outside beeped, a voice echoed through a speaker. Unregistered signal detected, proceeding with entry. Daniel's blood ran cold. He shoved the door open and dragged Lyra into the dark alley. The cold air hit their faces. Behind them, the sound of metal filled the room they had just left. The drone was inside now, scanning everything. "Faster," Daniel whispered. Though his own legs shook, they ran through the alley. Past broken walls and dumpsters, Lyra stumbled but held on. Her breath came heavy. Each step costing her strength, Daniel refused to stop. Suddenly, a bright light cut across the alley. Another drone, bigger than the first, dropped from the sky. Its siren blared. "Target detected. Engage." Daniel's stomach twisted. He dragged Lyra into another street, but the drone followed. Its red beams scanned the ground. Locking on them, a mechanical arm unfolded. Ready to fire, Lyra gasped. "Leave me, Daniel. Save yourself." But Daniel's voice rose in anger. "I didn't save you just to give you up. We're in this together." He spotted a narrow stairway between two buildings. He pulled her toward it. They climbed fast. The drone's light chasing them. At the top, they reached the roof. The city stretched out in chaos, patrols on every street, searchlights sweeping across the night. The drone rose after them. Its weapon glowing, Daniel's mind raced. He looked around desperately. A metal pipe lay near the edge of the roof. He grabbed it, his hands shaking. The drone fired a warning shot. Sparks flying as the roof cracked. Daniel stood his ground. "Come on then," he whispered to himself. His legs trembled, but his grip tightened. As the drone swooped low, Daniel swung the pipe with all his strength. The metal smashed against the drone's sensor. Sparks exploded, the machine spun out of control, crashing into the side of the building before falling to the street below. Daniel's chest heaved, his hands shook. Lyra stared at him in disbelief. "You fought it." "For me," he gave a weak smile. "Guess I'm full of bad ideas tonight," but before they could breathe, the sound of sirens rose again. More drones, more soldiers. The city was alive with hunters. Daniel knew they could not stay here. "Not anywhere near." Lyra's voice broke. "Daniel, I have to tell you. I am not just running from them. I carry something they want to destroy." He turned to her, his eyes sharp. "What is it?" Her hands clutched her chest where faint light pulsed under the hoodie. "Knowledge, memory of my people. If it dies with me, they win forever." Daniel felt the weight of her words. This was bigger than him, bigger than survival. If she was telling the truth, then her life meant more than just one alien stranger. It meant hope for a whole race. Before he could reply, the roof beneath them lit up with red beams. More drones appeared, circling like vultures. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her toward the far side of the roof. There was a fire escape, the only way down, but as they reached it, a voice boomed from the street below, amplified through speakers. "Surrender the target and you may live, resist, and you will both die." Daniel looked down. Soldiers filled the street. Weapons raised, engines rumbling. There was no way forward, no way back. He and Lyra were trapped. Lyra's voice trembled. "You should let me go, Daniel." "This is my fight." Daniel clenched his jaw, his fear burned into fire. "No, Lyra. It's ours now." He pulled her close as the soldiers raised their guns, his mind racing, his heart pounding. The city roared with danger. The night shook with sirens, and high above, the drones circled closer. They were out of time, out of choices. Yet Daniel knew one thing for certain. He would not let them take her. Not without a fight, and so under the burning lights of the city, the escape turned into a battle for survival. The soldiers surrounded the building, red lights flashing across the street. Drones hovered above like silent predators. Daniel and Lyra stood at the edge of the roof, hearts pounding. The fire escape was the only path left, but it led straight toward the waiting enemy. Daniel looked at Lyra, her face pale under the hoodie. Her breath came fast, her glow pulsing brighter now. He knew she could not run much longer. Yet surrender was not an option. "Stay close," he whispered. His voice shook, but his grip on her hand was firm. Together they climbed onto the fire escape. The metal rattled under their weight. Each step echoed into the night. Soldiers raised their weapons, shouting commands. "Stop, citizen! Hand over the fugitive!" Daniel ignored them. His eyes locked on the alley below. If they could just reach the shadows, maybe there was a chance. A drone swooped lower, its sensor flashing red. Daniel swung the metal pipe again. Sparks flew as he hit the drone's arm. It spun away, crashing into a wall. But the sound gave them away. Gunfire erupted. Bullets slammed into the metal stairs. Lyra cried out as sparks showered around them. Daniel shielded her with his body, forcing her down the last steps. They stumbled into the alley, running without looking back. The city was alive with sirens, the night no longer safe. Daniel dragged Lyra through narrow streets, past broken neon signs and shuttered shops. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but he refused to stop. She leaned on him heavily, her strength fading fast. Finally, he pushed open a rusty door into an abandoned workshop. Dust filled the air. Broken machines lay scattered. He pulled her inside and shut the door. Pressing his ear against it, soldiers rushed past outside. But none entered, silence at last, only their heavy breathing filled the room. Daniel collapsed to the floor, Lyra beside him. Her hood slipped back slightly, revealing the glow of her skin. In the dim light, she looked almost unreal. Fragile and otherworldly. "You should have left me," she whispered. Her voice cracked with guilt. "I am a burden. I will only bring death to you." Daniel shook his head quickly. "You're not a burden, Lyra. You're alive because I chose to help you. And I don't regret it." Her glowing eyes met his, filled with confusion. "Why? Humans fear us, humans kill us, but you fight for me." Daniel took a deep breath, his voice was soft but steady. "Because you matter. Because no one deserves to die alone. And maybe because I was waiting for something worth fighting for." Her lips parted. Speechless, no one had ever spoken to her that way. For her people, survival was always about duty. Sacrifice, never about kindness, but here was a human risking his life. Not for power, not for reward, only for her. She reached out weakly, her glowing hand brushing his. Her skin was cold but gentle. Daniel did not pull away. For the first time since this nightmare began, a strange warmth filled the space between them. "Daniel," she whispered, "I was ready to die, but you made me want to live again." The moment was fragile. Like glass, yet it held power. Daniel smiled faintly. "Then live, Lyra, and I'll fight with you." But peace was brief. Outside, engines rumbled again. Shadows moved across the workshop walls. They were not safe yet. Lyra sat up slowly, her eyes sharp despite her weakness. "There is a place, a shipyard hidden under the old district. If we can reach it, maybe I can escape this world." Daniel frowned. "A shipyard? You mean there's a ship?" She nodded. "Broken, but maybe it can fly. If we reach it before they find us." Daniel stood, determination burning in his eyes. "Then that's where we're going." They prepared to move, but as Daniel pushed the door open slightly, he froze. Soldiers were already there, sweeping the street with scanners, and at the center of the group stood a man Daniel recognized. Someone from his past. It was Marcus, a mechanic who once worked with Daniel. A man Daniel had trusted once. Marcus now wore a patrol uniform, his eyes scanning with cold focus. Daniel's stomach twisted. If Marcus saw them, it was over. He pulled the door shut quietly, his voice low. "We can't go through the front, we'll need another way." Lyra's glow flickered nervously. "They are everywhere," Daniel clenched his fists. "Then we'll slip past them, together." She looked at him with quiet awe. "You would risk your life for someone you just met." Daniel's voice hardened. "Maybe, but I'm not letting them take you. Not now, not ever." They found a back exit, crawling through rusted machines and broken panels. The night air outside was cold, but at least it was free of soldiers. Daniel helped Lyra climb through, her hands trembling but steady. As they disappeared into the dark maze of the city again, Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. "I was ready to die, but you made me want to live again." And Daniel knew, no matter the danger, no matter the cost, he would not abandon her. The bond between them had been sealed, forged in fear, courage, and hope. But ahead, the path to the shipyard was long. The city hunted them like a beast. Soldiers and drones filled the streets, and somewhere among them, Marcus waited, a man who once was a friend, but now might become the deadliest enemy. The night was far from over, and their fight for survival had only just begun. The city never slept, but tonight it felt like it was watching. Every shadow moved, every echo carried danger. Daniel and Lyra moved quietly through the back streets, keeping low, avoiding the red searchlights that swept across the rooftops. Lyra leaned against him, her glow faint but steady. Their goal was clear, the hidden shipyard, a place buried under the old district. If they could reach it, maybe there was a chance. Maybe she could escape. Daniel's thoughts raced. He was tired, afraid. But the bond he now felt for Lyra kept him moving. He would not let her fall. After hours of weaving through alleys, they reached an abandoned garage on the edge of the old industrial zone. Daniel pushed the heavy door open, the hinges squealing softly. Inside was dark, filled with the smell of oil and rust, and there, waiting in the shadows, stood Marcus. Daniel froze. His old friend looked almost the same as before. Broad shoulders, sharp eyes. But now he wore the black armor of the patrol. His face was calm, but his hand rested on a holstered weapon. "Daniel," Marcus said flatly, "I never thought I'd see you in something like this." Daniel tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. "Marcus, I don't want trouble, we just need to pass through." Marcus's eyes flicked to Lyra, narrowing at the faint glow under her hood. He smirked. "So the rumors were true, you found one, a fugitive." "An alien." Lyra stiffened, fear in her eyes. Daniel stepped in front of her. "She's not dangerous. She's just trying to survive." Marcus shook his head slowly. "You don't understand, Daniel. They pay more for one of her kind than we'll ever see in our lives. With her, I can buy freedom. Escape this rotten city." Daniel's chest tightened. "Marcus, please, she's not a prize, she's a person." But Marcus's hand moved to his communicator. "The patrol is close, I'll hand her over. And maybe I'll tell them you were just a fool who didn't know better." Lyra's trembling voice broke the silence. "Daniel." We should run, but Daniel did not move. He looked at Marcus, once a friend, now an enemy. His voice hardened. "If you call them, Marcus, then you and I are done. I won't let you take her." Marcus's smirk faded. "You think you can fight me? Against soldiers? Against the system? You're nobody, Daniel. Just a mechanic who wasted his life." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. He had always been nobody, always overlooked, but not tonight. Not when Lyra's life depended on him. "I don't care what I am," Daniel said, his voice low and sharp. "I won't betray her." Marcus sighed, disappointment in his eyes. "Then you leave me no choice." He raised his weapon, pointing it directly at Lyra. Daniel's heart pounded. Without thinking, he stepped forward, putting himself between the gun and Lyra. His voice shook, but his eyes burned. "You'll have to go through me first, for a moment." The garage was silent. Only the hum of distant engines filled the air. Marcus stared at him, his jaw tight. Finally, he lowered the weapon slightly, but his words cut deep. "You're throwing away your life for nothing, Daniel. For a stranger who doesn't belong here." Daniel's answer came like fire. "Maybe she doesn't belong here, but neither do I. Not in a world that treats life like a price tag." Lyra's eyes widened, her chest trembling with emotion. Marcus hesitated, his grip loosening on the gun. But before anything more could be said, the sound of boots echoed outside. Soldiers shouting orders, engines roaring closer. Marcus's communicator buzzed. "Sector secured." Preparing to sweep, Daniel's blood ran cold. They had no time left. Marcus looked torn, but greed flickered stronger than doubt. He whispered, "This is it, Daniel. Step aside. And I'll make sure you live." But Daniel shook his head. "No." In that moment, Marcus's choice became clear. He raised the communicator to his lips, ready to betray them. Daniel lunged. Grabbing the weapon, the two men struggled, the sound of fists and grunts echoing in the dark garage. Lyra cried out, her glow flaring as she tried to move. But her body was too weak. Marcus slammed Daniel against the wall, snarling, "You can't stop this, you'll die here." But Daniel's fist struck hard, knocking the communicator from Marcus's hand. It clattered across the floor, sparks flying as it broke. Soldiers outside drew closer, their footsteps pounding. Daniel pointed Marcus's own weapon at him now, his hands shaking. "I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to." Marcus glared, his pride wounded. But he raised his hand slowly, his voice bitter. "You've made your choice, Daniel, and now you'll pay for it." Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward the back door. Together they stumbled into the night. Hearts racing, soldiers shouted in the distance, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Behind them, Marcus's voice roared into the night. "They're here." "Over here!" Lyra gasped. "He betrayed us." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we'll prove him wrong." They ran, the old district swallowing them in shadows. The shipyard was close now, but the enemy was closer, and Daniel knew. The final fight was waiting just ahead. The bond he had built with Lyra was about to be tested in fire. And betrayal would not be the last obstacle. The old district was a graveyard of steel. Broken factories and silent machines stood like skeletons under the pale moon. Daniel and Lyra stumbled through the ruins, Chased by shouts and flashing lights, their bodies ached, but the fire in their hearts pushed them forward. Ahead, the hidden shipyard came into view. Rusted gates hung loose, and inside lay a massive hangar, its roof cracked and its walls covered in shadows. Daniel's chest tightened. This was their last chance if the ship was there. If it could fly, maybe they had hope. But behind them, soldiers closed in. Drones buzzed overhead, their red beams sweeping across the ground. Daniel pulled Lyra into the hangar, pushing the doors shut behind them. He knew they had only bought a few minutes. Inside, the air smelled of oil and dust. And there it was, a ship broken and scorched, resting like a wounded beast, its engines cracked, panels missing. Daniel's heart sank. It looked more dead than alive. Lyra's glow brightened faintly as she saw it. Tears filled her eyes. It is ours. Our last vessel, I thought it was lost. Daniel touched the cold hull. Can it still fly? Lyra's face fell. Not like this, not without power, not without sacrifice. Her words chilled him. What do you mean? She turned to him slowly, her eyes heavy with truth. I can give it life, Daniel. My energy, my essence. It can awaken the engines, but it will kill me. Daniel's chest burned. No, Lyra. We didn't come this far for you to die. She placed her glowing hand on the ship, her voice soft and calm. My people built these vessels with our own life force. Only we can awaken them. I was trained for this. I knew my fate. Daniel shook his head fiercely. I don't accept that. You're not some battery to burn out. You're more than that. You're Lyra. Her glowing eyes softened. And you are Daniel, the human who made me believe in hope again. But hope demands a price. Without this, they will catch us, kill us both, and all I carry will be lost outside. The sound of soldiers grew louder, engines roared. Metal boots pounded against the ground. Time was slipping away. Daniel's mind raced. He saw the ship, saw Lyra's trembling hands, saw his own reflection in her eyes, and he knew she was ready to give her life, but he could not let it happen. He grabbed her shoulders, his voice breaking. No. If there has to be sacrifice, then it will be mine. I'll buy us the time. You stay alive, you carry your people's memory. That's worth more than me. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, glowing brighter than ever. Daniel, you would die for me? His lips trembled, but his words were steady. I didn't save you just to watch you throw yourself away. If someone has to fall, let it be me. Before she could answer, the doors of the hangar exploded inward. Soldiers stormed in, their weapons raised. Marcus stood at the front, his voice like steel. It's over, Daniel. Hand her over. Daniel's blood boiled. He raised the stolen rifle, his hands shaking but firm. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The battle erupted. Bullets cracked through the air. Sparks lit the shadows. Daniel fired wildly, forcing soldiers to duck for cover. Lyra crouched behind the ship, her glow lighting the dark. A drone swooped low. Targeting her, Daniel roared, throwing himself in its path. He swung the rifle like a club, smashing the drone to the ground. Sparks exploded as it died, but pain tore through his side. A bullet had found him, Lyra cried out, her voice breaking. Daniel! He staggered, clutching the wound, but his eyes burned with defiance. He shouted at her. Go! Power the ship! I'll hold them off. Tears streamed down her glowing face, but she obeyed. She placed both hands on the hull, her energy flowing into the ship. Light spread across its broken panels. Engines groaning, sparks leaping to life. Marcus saw it and screamed, Stop her! Destroy the vessel! Daniel charged forward, pain forgotten. He tackled Marcus, the two men crashing to the ground, fists and blood mixed in the dust. Marcus snarled, You'll die for nothing, Daniel. Daniel's voice was raw. Then I'll die for something better than you ever lived for. The ship roared, its engines awakening with Lyra's sacrifice. Light filled the hangar, blinding the soldiers. But Lyra's body shook violently. Her glow flickering, Daniel saw her collapsing. Energy draining from her soul, he broke free from Marcus, stumbling toward her. Lyra, stop! You'll die! Her lips trembled, her voice weak. Then let me die with meaning. Daniel grabbed her, pulling her hands from the hull. No, you live, Lyra, you live, even if it cost me everything. The ship's engines flickered. Alive but unstable, soldiers pressed closer. Marcus aimed his gun again. Daniel turned, raising the rifle. Even as his own blood dripped to the floor, Lyra leaned against him, her glow dim but steady. She whispered, Then we fight together. And as the ship roared like thunder, Daniel and Lyra stood side by side. Against soldiers, against Marcus, against the whole world. The night burned with fire and sacrifice. and the outcome would decide more than their lives. It would decide whether hope survived. The hangar shook with the roar of the awakening ship. Sparks rained from the walls as the engines fought to come alive. Soldiers shouted orders, red lights flashing across their armor. Drones circled above, their weapons glowing. Daniel stood in front of Lyra, blood soaking his side. His body weak but his spirit unbroken. He gripped the rifle with trembling hands, refusing to back down beside him. Lyra leaned on the ship, her glow dim but steady, her eyes fierce despite her weakness. Marcus pointed his weapon, rage twisting his face. "You can't win, Daniel, one human against all of us." "You'll die here and she'll die with you." Daniel's voice thundered back, stronger than he felt. "Then I'll die standing. Not as a coward who sells life for coins." Gunfire erupted. Daniel ducked behind broken panels. Returning fire, each shot echoed with defiance. Lyra raised her trembling hands, light sparking from her palms. For the first time, Daniel saw her power unleashed. A wave of energy burst outward, knocking drones from the air, shattering the nearest weapons, but the effort tore at her. Her glow flickered dangerously. She fell to her knees, gasping. Daniel rushed to her, pulling her close. "Stop, Lyra. You'll burn yourself out." Her voice was a whisper. "If I stop, they win." Daniel's jaw clenched. His mind screamed for a way out. The ship's engines roared louder. Glowing blue, the vessel was alive now. But not stable. Smoke poured from cracked panels. "Sparks danced across the floor, Daniel," Lyra whispered, her glowing eyes finding his. "The ship is ready, but it cannot fly far. Not without a guide. I can merge with it. Keep it alive long enough to escape. But if I do, I will never return." His chest tightened. No, there has to be another way." She smiled weakly, tears shimmering. "You gave me hope, Daniel. But my hope is not for me. It is for the memory of my people. If I give myself to the ship, that memory will survive." Daniel shook his head, his heart breaking. "Lyra, I can't lose you." "I won't." She touched his face gently, her cold fingers brushing his skin. "You gave me a home in your heart, even if I cannot stay. That gift will never die." Before he could reply, Marcus charged, rage burning in his eyes. Daniel spun, blocking the strike. The two men clashed in the dust and fire. Marcus slammed him against the hull, snarling, "She's not worth it, Daniel." "She's nothing but a curse." Daniel's fist struck back, his voice raw. "She's worth more than you'll ever understand." With a final surge of strength, Daniel shoved Marcus back. The traitor stumbled into a live wire. Sparks exploded. His scream echoed as he collapsed. Unconscious soldiers hesitated. Their leader down, their drones destroyed. For a heartbeat, the hangar fell silent. Only the roar of the ship filling the air. Lyra pulled herself up, her glow returning in one final surge. She looked at Daniel with a soft, endless sadness. "It's time." "No," Daniel begged. "Please don't. We'll find another way." "Together." She smiled, a fragile light in the chaos. "You already gave me more than I ever dreamed. You gave me a reason to live. And now I will give you a way home." Her body glowed brighter, energy pouring into the ship. The vessel shuddered, panels sealing, engines stabilizing. Light spread across the hangar like dawn. Soldiers shielded their eyes, unable to fight against the brilliance. Daniel fell to his knees, tears burning his eyes. "Lyra, please." Her voice echoed inside his mind, clear and calm. "Live, Daniel. Carry me with you always." The ship lifted, rising above the broken floor. Its engines roared like thunder. Soldiers fled, their weapons useless against the storm of energy. Daniel stumbled aboard, his body weak but his spirit blazing. Through the glow, he saw her one last time, standing inside the light of the vessel, smiling. Then she was gone. Her essence merged with the ship. Her glow became its heart. The vessel tore through the hangar roof. Blasting into the night sky, Daniel clung to the controls. Guided by her presence within the ship, his body shook with pain, but his heart beat with her strength. The city shrank below, red lights fading. Sirens swallowed by distance. For the first time, Daniel saw the stars endless and bright. The ship carried him beyond the reach of soldiers, beyond Marcus, beyond fear. And though Lyra's body was gone, her voice lingered in the hum of the engines. "You are not alone, Daniel." "Not anymore." Tears streamed down his face, but he smiled, whispering back, "Then let's go home." The vessel soared higher, into the vast unknown, carrying a human who had once been nobody, and an alien's memory that now lived forever. And as the stars opened before him, Daniel knew this was not the end, it was only the beginning.